Calling the zoning hearing board for Township of Lower Makefield to order for February 6th. We have 4 members of the board here so that everybody knows that an approval requires 3 yes votes. A tie vote is negatory. So anybody that impacts how anybody's approaching coming up here today, keep that in mind. First up on the agenda was Appeal Z23-2016. They requested to have a continuance to March 5th, 2024. Any comment?
I'll second.
Okay, all those in favor of continuing Z23-2016 to March 5th?
Aye.
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 Okay, who cares? Next up is Appeal Z24-2042. If you can come up and get sworn in, and as we wait for that, Mr. Flagler will read in the exhibits.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
And I will, one addition here, we now have 5 members of the board, so my 3 is still a majority, so, but that impacts anybody's.
No ties.
No ties.
Right. We have a few.
Yep.
Yeah, a few exhibits. We have the application as A1, 2-sheet site plans as A2, the impervious surface breakdown calculations and stormwater management small project volume control that will be collectively marked A3. We have the revised plans, which is the zoning exhibit A and existing features plan. That'll be marked A4. We have the aerial photograph A5, the topographical plan of Yardley Run A6, and the Yardley Run final plan A7. B1, proof of publication, B2, proof of posting, and B3, notice the neighbors.
Would you each state and spell your full name, please?
Yes, Vince Fioravanti, civil engineer on the project, spelled Fioravanti.
Yes, William Sabluski.
And in the microphone.
Sorry, William Sabluski, property owner at 2154 West Wellington. Spelling of my last name is Szableewski.
Do you both solemnly swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
You can keep the microphone now. So go ahead and present.
I'll take it from here. Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. Vince Fioravanti here with the property owner, Bill Slabowski, 2154 West Wellington Road. Tonight, we have before you a zoning application to allow for the construction of a modestly sized in-ground pool on Lot 40 of Yardley Run, which was approved in 1986. If we could have the exhibits, I can quickly go through and explain the variances that are requested.
Jim?
Okay, what you see before you is a rendered version of the exhibits that we filed to the board. What I'll do is quickly, there are 3 variances that were requested. The first was an impervious cover variance to allow an impervious cover of essentially 40%, where 38 is otherwise the maximum. The second is setback variances. They're both related to the shed in the corner here. It's hard to see with this exhibit right there in the lower corner. There was a shed there on the existing plan. You would see it's 74, 78 square feet, an older shed that will be replaced in the same location with the same setbacks. The only difference is this would be a new shed to be 10 by 12 instead of 10 by 7. So the variance is requested to maintain the existing setbacks for the existing shed in that location. Looking back now, overall, I think the project is a representation of the minimum variances that would be required to allow the reasonable use of the backyard. The pool is modest in size. The impervious cover increase is 1,378 square feet. We would be required and be willing to comply with all the stormwater regulations that the township has if the board were willing to grant the variance. We would then go to grading, erosion control, stormwater management. I'm prepared to show by quickly going through the exhibits that we feel, again, it's consistent with the neighborhood. It'll have no aesthetic detrimental impact on the neighborhood. It's essentially consistent exactly with what the neighbors have. There'll be no adverse drainage impact to the neighborhood. And again, I think we already mentioned that we will be willing to comply with any stormwater regulations, and there will be no adverse impact to this. We can probably go to the next exhibit. I think it's an aerial. You can see the exhibit here where it says 2154 Wellington. That's the site. You can look to the left and you can see pool almost exactly like what we have proposed. You go further to the left, you'll see another one. And then to the right, you'll see a pool. Apparently someone took a pool out. But what my point is with this is not whether that pool was taken out or not taken out. My point is that it's consistent with the neighborhood, and I still believe that to be the fact. So in terms of maintaining the character of the existing neighborhood, I could show additional pools, but I thought this aerial made the point, speaks for itself. Aesthetically, there will be no negative impact. Again, if you can remember, we're going to be planting arborvitaes and evergreen trees surrounding the property. There'll be no aesthetic impact detrimental to the neighborhood. If we go to the next exhibit, this is a GIS exhibit that shows drainage patterns in the area. One thing you'll notice with this exhibit, you can see the site with the dot there, right? And you can see the drainage patterns. There's 20 acres of open space behind this. It must have been a cluster subdivision back in '86. The site slopes from the road directly back into the open space. The drainage patterns are shown tributary to the Core Creek. There are no dwellings between our runoff and the stream, and there's 20 acres of open space in the rear. It's also going to be surrounded by evergreen plantings, and we will comply with the township stormwater management ordinance. And again, we're only increasing the impervious coverage by 1,379 square feet, I believe. So it's a very small amount. We have a very large open space behind us, and the drainage patterns will carry our runoff directly into the stream, overland flow. Couldn't be a better situation really for no negative impacts with drainage. So I want to bring that to your attention and have that exhibit to show that. What do we have for the next exhibit? The next exhibit was the existing features plan. You recall I talked about the shed in the back, and you can see the existing shed. That's set back the same location that the proposed shed is. Essentially, the shed's going to be a little larger, so hence the need for the variance. But in terms of setback and aesthetics, it's just going to be a new shed instead of an old one. Be located in essentially the same place, holding a location of the lower left corner. So overall, when we look at this, we feel that, again, it's a minimum relief. If we can go back maybe even to the aerial photo, the minimum relief required to enable reasonable use of the yard, consistent with the surrounding area, no negative impact from an aesthetic perspective. You won't be able to see anything unless you're coming over to visit. No negative impacts from a drainage perspective. And we are willing to comply with the township stormwater ordinance to make sure that there's no impacts and that everything is, copacetic with regard to the ordinance compliance. If there's any questions, we can answer them. But again, I feel this is a reasonable request, an older lot that was approved in 1986. And I'll just allow the applicant to enjoy his yard the way his neighbors do without any detrimental impact to anyone.
Okay, we'll move on to questions from the board. I'll start with one here. The existing shed, does that have an existing variance in place or a permit in place regarding it?
Existing shed was there when the property was purchased.
But was it permitted or?
Unaware of the previous owner, was there when I bought the property back in 2017. This is a Rubbermaid shed that sits on a bed of stone.
I understand that. I'm just asking because it's in a non-variant.
Not aware, sir.
Jim?
And next,
Yeah.
get close line. We have no record of that shed being permitted. One thing I did notice is that the shed location on the aerial photo provided, which apparently is out of date, since the one pool in that photo is no longer there. It looks like it's shown in a different location further away from both the rear and side property. If you notice that.
Yes, I do notice it. The shed that was located there, I believe, was when we did our field survey. If it was a Rubbermaid shed, it could have been moved.
So has the shed been moved from that location to where you surveyed it in the past 2 years?
I'm not sure the date of that photo. It probably does say it in the bottom.
Most of them are only a couple of years old.
Right.
They fly them pretty frequently now, so. Oh, I thought you had more questions.
I do, but I was giving you a chance
Oh,
here.
no, it's whatever. It's, I'm sure.
All right, well, another question here is your pool coping and deck seems to be pretty extensive relative to the size of the backyard. As we get further into this, would you be willing to discuss potentially reducing the size of that patio area?
Yeah, absolutely be willing to discuss the size of going to be a concrete pool deck around the pool, so would be open to discussing the size of that.
I think when you look at the one dimension is 14 feet, I believe, where the chairs would sit. I think we could probably take a couple of feet off. I mean, you do want to be able to lay down in the chair. So you would need some width to walk around. But I think, a couple of feet could be taken off and it'd still function.
So you're adding 3.5% of impervious? What are you proposing to use to mitigate?
Yes, it goes to 40. It's 1,379 square feet. I think it went maybe from 28 to 40.
According to the applications, from 27.8 to 40.2.
So
Oh,
what
it
is-
exceeds the allowable by 2.2%, right?
So what is your,
No, it says 26 is
26 is the
allowable, so by
allowable.
14%. All right, I forgot to ask earlier which appeals you were participating in tonight.
Do you want me to go now? I don't want to.
Miles will go now.
Okay.
I see Jim here working on writing up a question, so we'll let you go now.
Sure, thanks. With respect to the coping, you talked about possibly reducing that, for lack of a better term, arc on the one area in the back corner. In that back corner, then if you remove some of that, that would enable you possibly to move the shed in away from the fence. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. And would you be willing to consider doing that to reduce some of the setback mitigation that's occurring? Would that be something you'd be willing to do?
Well, I mean, the shed, the intention of the shed is to house my lawn equipment, the pool equipment. So
Right.
I'd want it right on top of the pool.
No, I understand that. I understand that. I'm just saying, but would you be willing to move it back some? There are reasons why they have setbacks. I don't want to get into that. And Mr. Fioravani certainly knows that. I don't want to get into all those reasons, but just asking that question is part of,
3 feet so we could walk around behind it.
Yeah, if there needs to be flexibility.
Okay.
Setback, sure.
and then with respect to stormwater management, that was, as was pointed out by one or more of the zoning hearing board members, the application has an increase of 14.4%. And you mentioned stormwater management mitigation measures. What do you propose specifically?
Well, we proposed compliance with the ordinance, and I believe that if you're under 2,000 square feet of impervious, then it's water quality is what they look to manage the water quality volume, which we can do with a number of different ways. One is the trees that we have shown. They give you credits for evergreen trees. And so we do have 21. I think we'd end up having to have 24 trees to mitigate the volume per the code. So that's what we were proposing to do. The other option would be a seepage bed. We would have to go if the board were inclined to grant the variance, we'd have to go to the next level and, review the stormwater with the township engineer. But at this stage, one of the easiest ways to do it would be the evergreen plantings. We would need like 24 of them.
Assuming that the township is, as a policy, is kind of moving away from using plantings as a measure, you would be willing to do install an infiltration trench or something, or seepage pit or something like that?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay. And I don't know what the calculation would be to offset the increase, but I guess that's something we certainly would want to consider as part of our position in the case.
Be willing to work with the town engineer to come back?
You need to get closer to the mic too. Hold the mic closer to you.
I apologize. Would you be willing to work with a township engineer so that you don't have to come back? We can give him the authority to approve your project?
Yes, absolutely. And we did have the location of a seepage trench shown on one of the exhibits, and we calculated the volume. But of course, we'd have to do some soils testing to make sure it's adequate, and we would do that.
Okay. Well, thanks for passing that along. Normally, we do have a board member that likes to explain at length why we prefer the permanent facilities over the trees, because there's no guarantee that the next owner that comes along won't cut it down, or for some reason the trees die or get knocked over. And the permanent solutions are doing that. We like trees, so please plant them. But from a stormwater mitigation, we like the surety of the subsurface drainage.
We'd be willing to agree to that as a condition.
Okay. Any more board comments right now before I open to the public?
Now, I want to wait and hear some public comment before I jump back into this.
I have
Okay.
one question just based on the aerial photo. Did there used to be a pool there? I don't know how old this picture is, but it looks like there's a giant pit in that picture.
There used to be a large swing set when I bought the property back in 17 that left a pretty big, I'll say, uneven gully when the swing set was removed.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
And there were two evergreens right in the middle of the backyard. So you may be seeing,
Oh, okay.
Okay, any more board comment right now? Okay, we'll take public comment. When you come up to the microphone here, make sure it's on. State your name and your address. And if you're requesting to be a party, which gives you legal rights later on, or if you're just here to comment, both are acceptable. And just, you need to clarify. Make sure it's on. And you can pull it up if you want to. It's got flexibility.
All right, who wants to come up and knows what they're doing?
You certainly can.
Place it.
My name is Rob Ottenheimer, Ottenheimer, 1309 Fountain Road, Newtown, Lower Makefield. Original homeowner, we built the home back in 89. So we've had a chance to see what's going on, et cetera. We love Yardley Run. It's a great place. Obviously, when we moved in.
So back to my one other question there. Do you want party status?
I want to be a party.
Okay.
Thank you.
Ready?
No, you should be sworn regardless
Yep.
of, everyone should be sworn that's coming up to testify.
Yep.
Correct.
Absolutely. So we've had a chance to observe what's going on at Yardley Run for a long time. We knew the original owners of that home. His name was also Bill, I believe. So we see what's going on with the open space. We've also been in this room for deer in the backyard, et cetera. Right now, we have a situation, which is the picture I just gave you guys, and that was from the July 15th of this year when the flooding in the township happened. My wife and I happened to come back from a Phillies game and we saw the flooded backyard, et cetera. So what I want you to see, and again, I apologize for the print job, is that the water is running down the hill, not only coming down the back of the hill, but also where the pool used to be next door. When that pool was built, they brought in approximately 20 truckloads of dirt and it changed the grade. And ultimately, you can see there's a swale that goes alongside of our house in the township open space and one that goes behind it just off of our property, which is the 100-year floodplain. However, that water then backs up to our neighbor Tita's fence, which is right there at the second picture that you see. And ultimately, it goes down the hill from there and it's totally eroded somebody else's yard. So we already have a water problem. And I'm not saying that your project is good, bad, or indifferent for the current water problem. It's just that there's no errors can be made at this point in time on changing things so that the more water is directed in the direction of our property in the development. The other thing is that your topographic maps that you presented, it's not really how the water flows. And Bill, I'm sure you've seen that as well. It'd be really nice if it went to Core Creek, but I got news for you. When we walk in the backyard now, I need to put on muck boots like I'm out in a horse, whatever, because it's really, really wet out there and it's not going towards Core Creek and it never will, the way things are set up. So if something were to be changed, it would be really nice if the township required some type of a swale directing any kind of backwash or additional water to the open space, if that's allowable to dump water onto township open space, in which case maybe the problem sort of goes away and then some of us will be less interested in the outcome. The house with the pool that disappeared, again, that you'll see a pipe, pardon me, you'll see a pipe coming out as that first picture I showed you. That's still the result of the grading that was done when the pool was there. So that's really the concern, which is pool or no pool, the grade, you can see underneath the white fence there, you can see a pipe that's putting water out. And that's coming from the houses right next to. Yeah, I think yeah, we'll get you one. Yeah, here.
And may I ask one quick question?
Yes,
Where the patio furniture is,
That's
that
mine.
is your property.
correct.
Where the white fence is, that's the property on Fountain that formerly had the pool.
Correct.
And then where's the property that is proposed? That's almost not in the picture.
Over here. So
Okay.
it's just past
Here.
Yeah.
Left-hand side of the-
If you look at the photo that was provided,
Here you
to the
go.
left of where that white fence is, sort of in back, and I'll show the aerial photo. You need to be in front of the microphone, but
This one.
I'm going to pull up the aerial map right now.
Is this the pool that was filled?
He's here.
He's here looking that way.
Okay.
Ron Heimer, the aerial map is pulled up here, maybe for everybody's benefit, if you could point where your home is relative.
You're right here.
Okay. Okay.
When we moved in, the builder was required to take care of any erosion. We had a good attorney at settlement. And ultimately, they had to sod the whole hill because we couldn't grow a thing. This is going back in 1989. So we've participated in everything that's gone on since the builder left town. My point of all that is that the water situation hasn't gotten any better. And I don't see this project, the way it's laid out in front of us, as affecting it to be beneficial to the neighborhood.
You know when the pool was filled in?
Sorry?
You know when the pool was filled in?
I have the pictures of it being taken out. I can get you that date. 16, you were 17, so it was gone in 16, I believe. And I actually, yeah, I don't know if they had a permit or not, but he was trying to,
I'm just trying to look at just rationale stuff.
I have a picture of it being taken out.
And for everyone's benefit, I kind of roughly sketched in where you see that water coming underneath the fence and then around Mr. Rottenheimer's tree on his lot, and then eventually goes out somewhere.
And when the swale was put in, it actually breaks once. Yeah. It actually, half the water, when the builder couldn't grow grass, we couldn't grow grass, and they sodded it. The bulldozer came in and he made it so half the water broke to the street. Keep the microphone with you? Yeah, I'm sorry. When the builder made it, the swale of the bulldozer, they went alongside of our house to keep the water here and the other half here. So he had his transit and he broke the water going half behind and half to the road back in 1989.
And you'll get a chance.
Peter's had to put up a small little dam because the water is so significant per the flow like you see. And that's not, yes, that was July 15th, but it's not abnormal to have water running along the back of her property, which ultimately has taken out the shed and some other stuff, the other neighbors.
We're
Is
gonna,
that-
Do you have anything else to add?
Thank you.
Perfect.
I'm
Thank you.
gonna mark the photos, Oppenheimer 1 and 2.
I can email if anybody wants stuff.
If you could, I'd appreciate that.
Would the next person like to come forward and be sworn in?
Come up again. You can lower the mic now. State your name, your address, get sworn in, and then party status.
Hello, my name is June, June Farley, Farley. I live at 1289 Fountain Road, Newtown, Pennsylvania.
Do you solemnly swear or affirm the testimony about to give shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you.
First of all, thank you for letting us speak today. And I want you to know, I really am not here to cause issues with a neighbor, but as he had said, my property is experiencing extensive flooding at this point due to the elevation of that hill. His property's on an elevation, which is not seen there. So the water comes down to Rob's yard, Tita's yard, and now my yard. I have photographs for you. I don't know that this particular pool necessarily is going to contribute, but given what I've heard from our landscaper and such, it seems that that would be a concern. So I just had a few questions and I have photos for you. I am speaking with Mr. Kirk, Mike the Kirk, I believe, about another side of my property that pool was built that has now created a dam, which is unrelated to this. You'll see the situation.
We can share.
One.
So in the photograph, the neighbor fence and pool is an existing pool that I'm speaking with Mike Kirk about. I have concerns about the fact that they didn't get a variance and now there's a 9-inch erosion according to the landscaper. So the pool that I'm concerned about going in is on the right side of the photograph. That's Tita's yard. The water comes down from Tita's yard into mine. And from Rob, I'm concerned about the elevation of the property where the pool is. It's quite steep, doesn't show you on there. So my concern is if that's not surface that's absorbing water, will that contribute to our situation with this flooding we have going on? I'm waiting to hear from Mike Kirk about an engineer coming out. I know Mike went to my property and did look at my property. So I'm waiting to hear from him, but we're also going to hire an engineer to come and see what we can do about that. The water you see on the one photo is township property, that water. So my property stops at the back of the shed there, so.
Happen to have an extra copy of?
I don't, but I can.
Yeah, well, just so I can,
Yeah,
you know.
These
address
are my
what you're
notes,
saying.
but.
I'll take a look.
So I guess what I'm wondering is what is the mitigation, the drainage mitigation system they might be putting in? That's my number one concern. And is there a particular, I know you addressed it with them about mitigation, the drainage runoff. That's my big concern and how it might affect us. Yeah.
Ms. Farley, I can tell you the township's taken the position that we would like to see mitigation going back to the original required impervious surface ratio
26%.
level.
The ratio. What is
Yeah.
that ratio? Just,
It's 26%.
it is? Okay, I thought it
That
was.
particular zoning district. And Mr. Fierabani, he's promised exactly that amount, but he's indicated that they will look into the possibility of installing a seepage pit or some type of mechanism,
That's awesome.
permanent below ground, that would offset the addition.
Yeah, that would be awesome. That's really, my
So
concern.
for most storms, it would actually have, you would actually have less flow coming off. Now, really heavy storms, that won't change the
course.
circumstance, but a real heavy storm is going to flow off grass too.
Correct.
So,
Yeah, we've seen a significant increase. And again, the photo on the left is another issue we have to deal with. It's on the other side. Thank you so much.
Going to mark those as Farley 1 and
Do
2.
you want me to email you? I can send you. I have video of the water.
email 'em
I have
to-
video from the top of the hill all the way down. I took video.
Well,
So if you want this.
If you could email me.
the
I would
photos that you
appreciate it.
presented, email to Jim.
okay. Any more public comment in the room?
Oh, yes. And I guess I'm assuming I declare myself a party. Is that correct? Is that automatic or?
No, it is not automatic.
Okay,
You
so I do
actually
declare
have to ask,
myself.
which is why I was.
All right,
asking it
thank you. I'm
before.
sorry. I do declare myself a party.
Hello, my name is Aurelia Shepard and I reside at 1299 Fountain Road. My last name is spells SHEPPARD. S as in Sam, H as in Hamilton, E as in Elaine, P as in Peter, P as in Peter, A as in Apple, R as in Rose, D as in Dave. And D.
Spell your first name also?
Oh, sure. A as in Apple, U as in Ulysses, R as in Rose, E as in Elaine, L as in Laura, I and as in Isabel, A as in Apple.
You solemnly swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give shall be the truth, the whole
Yes,
truth,
I
and
do.
nothing but the truth.
Yes, I do.
Let me see where the people that.
Yeah. And if you can put the aerial view.
Jim's
that
going
will
to pull
make
it
it
up right
correct.
now. Do you want party status? That's what you
Yes,
mentioned.
yes. Okay. So hopefully I will be able to put it back. I live, okay, the proposed pool is here and my house is here. Mr. Ottenheimer lives here and June Farley lives here. So I am in the middle of those two neighbors. Okay? My major concern is about the rainwater runoff around the properties located both on the hill and the downhill areas bounded by West Wellington Road and Fountain Road. Your property is at the top of the hill, but our properties are downhill. Okay, and the slope of the terrain decreases very quickly and becomes fairly flat very quickly in some of the properties located farther downhill from me. And in fact, the rainwater runoff runs through some of the backyards of the properties after me. So when you were showing the runoff, it seems like it was coming and it was coming this way, but no, it really gets very close. And at this point here, it starts crossing the backyards. It goes through the backyards. Now, in my situation, it goes right by the open space behind my property, and I have never had any water issues because of the rainwater runoff, and I don't want to have any in the future. And that is why I opposing this variance. That's reason number one. The proposed variance is going to result in a tremendous increase in the impervious surface. It goes from 27.8, which is already above the code allowable of 26% to 40.2%. I am extremely concerned that this proposed increase in impervious surface is going to significantly increase the amount of rainwater runoff and or change the flow, the pattern of the flow of that rainwater runoff. And that would lead to further water issues affecting and impacting the properties downhill. The other thing, and Mr. Majewski is and already my neighbor has, the second reason why I feel very uncomfortable with this proposal, and I'm going to say, I really go out of my way not to have cause any problems with my neighbors, but my first responsibility is to protect my property. And the second situation that is frightening to me is that we have an unresolved issue regarding the 2023 installation of the pool 1281 Fountain Road. And my neighbor, June, already brought that to your attention. Mr. Mike Kirk, it has been reported by at least 2 different neighbors since December 2023. And you, Mr. Majewski, received an email from me about the subject, correct? As well as Mr. Kirk.
Yeah, that is correct. And we're waiting on our engineer to go out and take a look at that to figure out what needs to be done to address that situation.
So the bottom line is that there is an unresolved issue right now that is happening.
Take the microphone with you.
That is happening right here. And is, basically the installation of this pool in 2023 has blocked the rainwater runoff established by the township. And now this is causing the water to back up into the next property, as Mrs. Farley indicated, June. Okay, that is a big concern to us, and it needs to be addressed. So what I'm saying here is that, in my opinion, no other projects should be considered at this point. Any new proposals affecting any property in this area should not be under consideration until this problem is addressed, is understood. What happened there? What was the problem? What caused the problem? How is it that is permanently fixed? Because any new proposals, such as yours, it could actually aggravate the problem even further. So I don't think anything new should be under consideration in these properties until that problem is resolved satisfactorily, and until like June was pointing out, some of the neighbors have already brought this problem to the attention of the township. We have had no follow-up. We need follow-up from the township to know.
You brought this up a couple times now, okay? And
Okay.
Jim acknowledged that you've made the.
So the other thing that I would like to suggest to the township that was already brought up by Mr. Ottenheimer, and I agree 100%, is that right now the way the rainwater runoff runs is, it runs through the open space and then it starts cutting through the backyards of some of the properties farther down from me. There is a lot of open space in there. And I would like to ask the township engineer to survey the area and determine whether something can be done to move
That's
that
not,
water off.
believe it or not, that's not part of this appeal. We're just dealing with their situation. And Jim's acknowledged that you sent a question in regarding the other area. So I recommend that you follow up with Jim on the overall complaint regarding the neighborhood, and we've heard your comment. So-
Right. I guess my only point would be is, I think is, in my opinion, is relevant because if the township is able to push farther away from the properties, the rainwater runoff, then there will be more room for further proposals like that. Because effectively, the water will be farther away from the properties. Do I make sense?
Thank you.
Okay. And I think if you just give me a minute, I just want to make sure that I make one more comment.
As long as it relates to his property, that's
All right.
We're here to.
That's fine. If you don't think, what I'm trying to bring to your attention are things that I think,
We're a zoning
Realize.
board. We're here to make a decision on a variance matter, actually a couple variance matters.
okay, that's
So
fine.
I understand where you went, but now we've wandered off into possible engineering of township or common ground or whatever, and it's really not
Or
related
planning
to our
commission.
appellant.
Yes, we're not the correct board for that.
Okay, thank you. But I have a question. Are you the correct board that if I say, in based of the two issues that I had brought up, so much rainwater running through the, behind our properties, and the current issue with the water backup on that other property from the 2023 pool installation, is it relevant to ask this board that maybe for the
Yeah,
future?
we're only on this, only talking about this appeal here. You've made the statement. It's been very clear so far that
Okay.
there are water issues in the neighborhood. We're not dealing with the rest of the neighborhood. We're only looking at the one issue here and how this might or might not contribute to the problem, which will impact our
Okay.
decision-making
Alright.
process. But we're not looking
Okay.
at anything else. We're looking
Okay,
at the
that's
narrow
fine.
case here.
Thank you. So who do I need to bring this to the attention of the township? Some other
Yes.
suggestions?
Yeah, and I think we've already heard about that.
Okay.
Our thing is we just need to get our engineer out there. We
Okay.
haven't had a chance.
Well, I was not talking about the 2023 pool. I was talking about the other things about maybe the redirecting the rainwater runoff farther away from the properties and things like that. Are
Oh,
you
okay.
the correct person to address that too?
Yeah, you could address
Okay.
that to me, and when our engineer goes out there, and I'll probably go out with him.
Well, I
We'll take a
apologize.
look at
I'm
it.
just trying to find out who to talk to about this issue. So I'm not trying to rob anybody's time.
I appreciate that.
All right. Is there any more public comment in the room? Up to the mic.
Like,
Rob Ottenheimer again. The pool was removed on 10/25/16. The one that's missing.
Rob, while you're up there, I'd like to ask you a question.
Yes.
Out of the three people who came up for public comment, is my understanding that your house is the closest to the appellant?
Yes.
Okay, so clearly, based on some of these pictures and the testimony, there's a water issue behind your house is on Fountain. Does that water come from Mr. Sorry
Bilski.
about this. Yeah. Mr. Slabluski's house, is it coming from there, or like where's the origin of the water and what role does his house play in that water?
Very good question. Not a water engineer or soil engineer. That's why I gave you the picture and I showed you the white pipe coming underneath the fence, which is from the previous pool, which was water that came from West Wellington, ultimately coming down the hill. So he's the third house in from Fountain on the
Yeah.
corner. and the water load starts and comes down, and the previous pool owner, when that pool was in existence, had used a lot of fill to.
Your adjacent neighbor
Yeah,
you're talking about.
Yeah, former, yes.
Yeah.
So the point is, water's been directed, but there was a water problem when we moved in back in 1989.
Yeah, you were saying, but like the testimony that I heard, it seems like the water's coming behind the three people who's testified homes. It's coming like out of the woods and it's moving towards
No,
that. That's
not
what
at
I
all.
thought I heard.
No,
Sure.
Sorry.
But that's what,
no, the woods are obviously here. This is a high level plain, if you will. The Bill's yard is totally flat. The builder was pretty excessive on his grading, so your topographical map isn't really all that good. I think the deer hunting one had a better flow on that one. So the water ultimately is coming down and running down. So
So
where's the
it's
source?
near,
I'm sorry?
so it's near Mr. Slabowski's house. But like you said, you're not a water engineer, so you're not sure if like his house is part of the problem or not. But it's near it. Is that a fair statement?
I would say all three of these properties, ultimately, the water came and there was water that used to run on the house that formerly had the pool. And it used to run between the house and their pool deck. They had a whole bunch of rock and plastic and whatever there to mediate water off of their property, which ultimately came out the white pipe by our house. So
We got to find that builder from 89. That's what I say.
I think they're dead. Best homes.
Yes, Holmes.
And
No, but
that was the company.
You answered my question. Thank you. You just have to come back up, reintroduce yourself, and
Thank you, gentlemen.
Oh, one thing I want to point out about where the water is coming from, if I may.
sure, grab the microphone.
So, because I'm back there and I do have video, I will send you the video. So he's elevated. Do you have the elevation level of the home?
It's shown on the contour.
Oh, okay.
The
So
contour
I just
maps
wanna
were
make sure you
provided, do show it
understand.
elevated, yes.
Yeah, I mean, it
And you got a rough,
generates, yeah, I mean, it's not specifically, you don't see a big stream here, but water comes down the hill. It accumulates. It is going right here. Let me see, wait, where am I? Yeah. And my neighbor here, this is me, has built a pool. That's where it's damming. But what we're saying about this property, we're worried, and I don't know, I'm not an engineer. How will building that pool create more runoff? Because it's so extreme at this point. That's all. I just want to make sure I understood that it's elevated. Because it's,
No, yeah,
you can
yeah,
see
that's,
in my photo.
you can see the topography, man.
If you look at my second page on the right, you see that hill? If you followed that straight up, that would be his property there.
yeah, and it shows in the contour maps. So-
Yeah, sure. I just make
so-
sure.
so-
Thank you
yep.
for your time. Let's see if I get this back. And like I said, I'm not sure, but that's what I would like to know. Does the township send an engineer out to look at those or no? And when someone asks for a variance, do you send an engineer to the property or you don't? The township doesn't? Is
I
that a
can add,
standard procedure?
Whenever a pool's installed,
Yeah.
they're supposed to call for the final inspections to make sure everything is done properly. In this case, they did not call for those final inspections.
No, I mean this one. Do you send someone out for the variance just to look at the property? You're not required to do it, the township.
Well, we typically don't look at it unless we really feel it's
Okay,
necessary.
all right. I just wondered. if it was
However,
standard.
when they do install the pool and they do put that infiltration trench in, we will have someone out there to verify that they placed it at the right dimensions,
Gotcha.
have the right filter fabric, which is basically
Okay.
just,
All right, thank you.
wrapping around.
Is there any public comment online?
There's no public comment online.
Okay.
I have one question, just kind of directed at Jim here. It seems like based on the design of this pool, between the willingness to put in a water mitigation system, and then on top of that, significant trees, granted trees die and you can remove trees, my interpretation is that if water mitigation is put in place and trees are on there as like supplemental assistance, I feel like it's within reason that there might actually be less water coming from this property than there currently is. Am I crazy?
That's Jim. And I agree. I made that statement earlier too, that for your average rainstorm, that will be the case. Yes.
Yeah.
Because they also said they would mitigate back to the 26%
And the only thing we
or
would
be
have,
open to it. Let me rephrase that.
yeah, the only thing we'd have to look for out in the field is to make sure that they don't inadvertently shift the flow of water as they did in that pool that's 4 doors down.
Okay. Dave, did you have any more comment? All right. So
I think
back,
I asked all my questions. Thanks.
back to the board here then.
I mean, honestly, we sit on the board and we understand stormwater mitigation pretty well. And I know I'm confident that with seepage bed and the trees, that it would make, it would definitely improve the situation mildly or at least be neutral. I have a bigger concern with a shed that's on this property that hasn't been permanent. So it was, I know Mr. Zabluski didn't install it. He inherited it, but I'm wondering what we're going to do with this situation because we have an unpermitted shed there that's trying to be replaced with a new shed.
That's larger.
That's why I asked the question about whether there could be, if the coping were adjusted and whether the shed could be moved in some ways to offset some of that kind of drastic setback issue.
And Vince, did I read correctly? Is your pool surround approximately 1,100 square feet, or it's hard to read it. It looks like it could be 1,000 or 1,100.
1,016.
1,016, right? Okay, so I think it would definitely make sense to cut that back a little bit, right? It would probably be goodwill for the neighbors. And then it probably could help solve some of this shed issue as well. I don't know. I'm not going to sit here and tell you what you should do and what the homeowner should do, but I know I can get behind this with something more reasonable than 1,000 square feet of pool decking.
We have, as we've gone on tonight and heard the input from the neighbors as well as the board, we've been keeping track of the various things that we're willing to do, try to move this forward. One is we were looking at maybe keeping a 3-foot minimum setback with the shed so we can get around it for lawn and maintenance and.
You need to talk into the microphone. They can't hear you.
So the one thing we were talking about was that maintaining a 3-foot setback for the proposed shed so that you can, maintain it and get around it without having to traverse on someone else's property. The second is we could take, we have a 14-foot area for the lounge chairs. So we could take like 2 feet from that and make it 12 feet, so make that a little smaller. Mitigate stormwater back to 26%. Also include the trees as they're shown in addition to the seepage bed, so that the trees that we plant, we wouldn't count them towards stormwater management, but we still would plant them. So we're essentially doing double because the trees by themselves would comply with the ordinance. We will agree to plant them as well as not count them towards stormwater and do the seepage bed and comply with the ordinance and the soils testing and everything. So I think with all those compromises, and the township engineer would review everything, of course, and inspect it to make sure it was installed properly, we should be able to reduce the stormwater flow from the site compared to what it is now. So I think we should be able to assist the neighbors in that regard.
Well, rather than arbitrarily maybe say 2 feet.
But
from the 14
let's
feet.
just say it's like 100 square feet.
Yeah, that's what I was
Yeah,
thinking.
that would be fine.
Okay, because that lets us make the calculations here, determine the percentages. So
Yeah.
what would that do to the percentage, Jim, if it was 100 square feet less of impervious?
So we have 4419 divided by 11,250.
That would be 39.3%.
And can you remind us what the proposal with the shed looks like?
10 by 12, right?
Yeah, 10 by 12 shed,
And what kind of setbacks though?
3 feet from the.
3 feet
rear
on each
and
side?
Yes,
Rear and side?
yes.
Which,
Your neighbors have 5 feet in 2 of their sheds. Would you be willing to go to 5 feet instead of the 3? It would be in line with the neighborhood.
I don't know. We have to look at it. There's going to be enough room between the pool and where the shed, how close the shed is in proximity to the pool.
Matt, would you be okay with maybe 5 feet off the side because there's a neighbor there, but because they backed
Yeah,
the
I'd be okay
open
with
space,
that.
keep
5 and
that at
3.
3 feet, 5 and 3?
I'd be okay. with
That seems to make sense to me, right?
Yeah.
Does that make sense? So now you're just bringing it off the side 5 feet, but you still have that 3-foot buffer, so it's really not encroaching on the pool at all.
Right. So that'll be fine. Not to a shed. Yeah.
You'll never see your seepage
Yeah.
bed.
You don't even know.
looking at your map, your seepage bed is most likely going to be in the southeast corner because that's the low point where your drainage is shedding to. Mm-mm. That's also the best, most benefit to your neighbors too, if it's in the southeast corner.
Yep. Yeah, we're okay with that as a condition.
Yeah, I could get behind it.
Do it or want me to do it?
It's a lot. I'll take a shot at it. I'd like that. Matter of fact, Meg, welcome back. Why don't you take this one?
Oh, sorry. You guys are warm and fuzzy.
No, I'll do it. So I'll make a motion to approve Appeal Z-24-2042, wherein the pool decking is reduced by 100 square feet from what it was presented on the plans tonight, whereas the trees as presented on the plan tonight remain, whereas the shed goes to, we're fine with the shed size as presented, but we need a 5-foot setback on the side and a 3-foot setback on the rear. And in regard to the seepage bed, we're going to need the applicant to work with our township engineer to mitigate the stormwater management all the way back from what is now 39.3 to 26%.
Second.
Any discussion?
I think we're good.
Sounded right on. All right. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. Any opposed? All right.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
You got a lot of eyes on you, so get it right.
Thank you.
Next up is Appeal Z-24-2040. 44.
By the way, thank everybody for coming and giving us your public comment. Thank you very much.
I see our new president our new chairman for next year. She said
I don't think the applicant's here.
she said yesterday she couldn't make it tonight, so I don't know if it's family.
Mr. Chairman, I don't think the applicant's here.
Are they online?
Yep.
Yeah, I believe they're online.
Okay,
He's on the camera there.
there we go. Okay.
All right. State your name and address and get sworn in.
My name is Steve McGill. I'm with Munn's Construction, and our address is 201 Buck Road, Holland, Pennsylvania.
Okay, Adam will read in the exhibits. Sorry, I'll let Ed finish first. Yep.
Mr. McGill, do you solemnly swear or affirm the testimony about to give shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, we have the application as A1, site plan as A2, B1 proof of publication, B2 proof of posting, and B3 notice to neighbors.
Okay, go ahead and explain to the board what it is you'd like to do and let us know if we should be pulling up any particular graphics.
Sure. I'll give you a brief overview. We are working with a client to develop an addition to their modest size home, ranch, and it's a mid-century modern, so the architecture is somewhat unique. So the client came to us and asked us to put on an addition for increased living space. And in such, what has been developed does encroach on the setback. Frankly, the existing structure is existing non-conforming. However, the current plan does encroach further, but it is just a corner of the structure. It is not the entire structure. We believe the existing structure was oriented for light for the mid-century modern. Not shown on this plan, but I do have, if I can share my screen, like a concept from the architect that kind of shows some of the unique roof lines, if you wanted me to share that. So, the existing would come up to about 3 feet from the existing setback. The existing structure is 9 foot from the existing setback, so it's already 6 foot over the existing. But we would be getting another 6 foot closer to that setback.
Okay, and if you mind for a second here, I'm going to break in here and point out that this application does not have that variance within the request. So we'll be
For the
glad
side setback?
to go to the 3-foot setback. No, it's not in there. So we're willing to discuss this tonight.
Okay.
But the suggestion is that you request a continuance to March 5th so you can resubmit and we can re-advertise with it shown with the setback request.
I am mostly sure that we did apply for that on the township site. Let me go to the portal here real quick.
Jim, can you speak to that at all?
Yeah, the only one we have is 200-23B, which is the impervious surface. That's all it's noted on the application.
Yeah, I checked that today and apparently you didn't ask for the side setback variance, although it is shown in your plans. And I know we had sent a message to you through OpenGov, but somehow we didn't get that back to be on the application and advertised. So it wasn't advertised for the side setback. But I think we could still discuss this and then discuss it, I guess, for real on March 5th.
Okay. So basically you guys were aware of it. It just hasn't been made public notice, so we can discuss
Correct.
it.
Yeah. So we
And
can't vote on it.
right?
Yes, we can't vote on it. So
Fair enough. Fair enough. So anyways, part of the issue is the existing structure is uniquely positioned on the lot. Typically structures are more oriented 90 to the yard, to the front setback. This existing structure is not. And then again, there's kind of some unique roof lines with the structure that is also, we're trying to keep the new addition to that consideration. So that would be the first issue. The second issue is also impervious. We do not currently have a stormwater management plan, but we are prepared to do stormwater management as part of the development of the project. We have prepared using your spreadsheet, some sizing for suitable trench for to accommodate the additional impervious. Again, the existing, although just briefly, is existing non-conforming at only, it's only like 0.1% over existing, but we would be bringing it up to current standard.
Would you like me to share the plans for people to view on the screen?
Sure.
Or would you like to do that?
If you want me to, so certainly the site plan that the architect has prepared, that you have, if you want to see the rendition art, I can certainly share my screen.
I think showing the rendition art briefly might help some of us on the board here.
Absolutely.
Our questions.
Okay. So as you can see, the existing structure, if you look at this model down here, it's an existing split roof line. So the front half of the house has a lower roof line than the back half of the house. So the proposed addition has some roof lines that will kind of match that, marry to that, hold that aesthetic. So, and not depicted in these because we're not doing work on the front of the house, but in this pony wall here on the front half of the house are windows. So we think that's part of why that the house was oriented in the direction in which it was. So
No, we do not.
Let's mark these as, I guess A3 will be the renderings.
mhm.
And if you could email that to us so we have it for the record, I'd appreciate that.
Absolutely, we'll get it uploaded to the portal. Or do you need me to do that? Would you like me to do that now?
Whichever you prefer.
Yeah, I mean, email's quick, so you could always just send it over.
So I have Dan M at Lower Makefield. Is that email suitable?
It's Dan. Yeah.
Yes, that'd be fine.
I'm going to put a question out there and then I'm going to punt it over to everybody else here. Was there any consideration given to perhaps just raising the house? I know that's been done with many properties around here and keeps the house within the same footprint.
Yeah, again, it is an older couple, so they were not looking to do multi-story. Additionally, we are trying to keep to the mid-century modern. So, in doing a second floor addition, it would give it a very different look and appeal. So it was mostly not the homeowners want out of the project.
Okay, passing this on to any other board members have questions.
You're on it too, right?
Dave, do you have questions?
Yeah, we're participating. I want to confirm that you indicated in your presentation that you on behalf of your clients are willing to install some type of stormwater mitigation measure, not trees or plantings, but a trench or something of that nature to offset the increase to take it back to the ordinance requirement. Is that correct?
Absolutely.
Okay.
And let's see here. Yeah, so I was Matt, my colleague who is here, he's I think currently muted, but he filled this out and submitted it on the portal earlier. But we were kind of messing around with some of the square footages.
Okay. Thank you.
So
Just want to
yeah.
confirm that for the record. Thank you.
Yep.
No, we do not. But he said he's still messing around with it.
So I know we're,
Yeah, that's not final.
So
That would be helpful to have with the next meeting too.
What I'm
When
sorry,
you have
what
it settled. It'd be nice to have the sheet you had, the worksheet you have there filled out and available to us at the next meeting.
okay.
I
Again,
mean, I think you might want to, it'll help our decision-making process and to make it easier for the public to understand you've already addressed it.
okay. Yeah, so
so
we did submit it yesterday.
you want to talk
So
about that?
it is on the website.
yeah.
Really need neighbors. on.
Yeah, I'm just one board member, but I'm trying to
Mhm.
wrap my head around how we already have what's the existing setback right now? 9 feet? Is that right?
Well, the 15-foot required.
I know
there's
that.
9 feet there.
And then they want to take it to 3 feet.
Yeah.
I've got a problem with that. I mean, I'm looking at this and I get that the house was oriented in a manner to take advantage of the sun is what Mr. McGill is assuming is what happened, which would make sense. But when I look at the architecture of this, I don't understand why we have to come straight back, why we can't angle down and maintain that current setback. I'm gonna have a real hard time getting behind this. I'm just letting everybody know right now. So, and like I said, I'm looking and I see that the family room's been squared off coming back, but everything else follows the same lines on the left, on the left side of the house if we're looking at the building plans, which would actually be the right side of the house from the street. But I don't understand why they can't come down that line. So I'm just letting you know, one person up here is going to have a problem with this.
Well, I mean, I'm just gonna follow on there because you're talking about essentially going to a zero setback, and I just can't see this going forward. It's mid-century modern, but you got a lot of infill, space in there. A simple shift could allow you to continue to use the existing, I guess, non-conforming setback while not exacerbating the problem any further to your neighbor.
Mm-hmm.
It might even help you with your stormwater issue by making that adjustment. So I'm having a real hard time getting behind that.
Understood. Understood. We knew it was, that there's not necessarily any hardship or anything here. So this was more of an ask than than anything. So.
One thing I would note for the record, the setback when the house was constructed was a 10-foot setback. So the setbacks changed in the zoning over time. So
He's kind of in compliance based upon what was enacted at that time.
close to it, yes.
Close to it, right?
Okay.
I don't know even. All right, public comment. We don't bite.
There's no public comment online.
Okay, we do have public comment in the room though.
Hi, Tim Marchok,
Spell your name.
Marchok.
Do you solemnly swear or affirm the testimony about to give shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, I do.
Thank you.
And your address.
Live at 10 West Ferry. So the only reason I'm here really was to learn about this project because I'm a neighbor of the.
Right.
Is it on?
Yep.
I'm a neighbor of the Coleys, and we got the notice from the township that just said they have something being built that's going to be 1,000 feet. So I have absolutely no problem with them putting an addition on. I guess the only question I would have is, can you bring the map back up that shows the site plan?
I'm sorry. Do you want me to do that?
So basically, a couple people mentioned the stormwater management. And so after watching this, I assume that something would have to be dug that would be substantial. So our property is, we adjoin in this area down here. And we have a large number of big evergreens here, green giant arborvitae that we planted 3 feet from the property line 15 years ago. And so I don't know where that the trench would go, but I would just want to make sure that it wouldn't be so close to those trees that the roots would be endangered. My hunch is it would be far away. So yeah, here are all the trees that we have extend the whole way along here. There are a lot of trees in here. My hunch would be that the trench would not be put real close to where our property line is, but that's literally my only concern with anything with this.
Jim, you could probably speak more intelligently on that than anyone.
Well, that's something that the applicant would have to figure out where to put it, but for the most part, they're not going to put it where they have to cut down trees to do it. They most likely would do it in an open area. And based on your concern, I think the applicant probably would be agreeable to not put it close to your property. Would that be correct, Mr. McGill?
Absolutely. And usually when we build trenches of this nature, the gutters are being routed into those. So it would be closer to the, to the addition and the property line, as to not have to extend those lines further than needed. So.
Okay, thank you.
All right. The next meeting in order to make public notice requirements would be March 5th. Would you have updated submittals and in by then, or would you want more time?
Um, can we get back to you on that? So I can confer with my client and the architect, and I'm not sure how long it would take for the architect to, review the plan and look at alternatives.
Well, we can give them like a month and then they can get back to us or get back to June.
Yeah, I was gonna say, we could postpone it or continue it to March 5th. If it turns out that you need more time, which hopefully.
Continue it again.
Yeah, we could continue it again.
Okay.
But obviously, let the township know, because it needs to be advertised, and if we can advertise it for the appropriate meeting, that would be, and as opposed to advertising it just to be continued.
Yeah, and I think you guys need, what, 2 weeks, 14 days? So we'd have to have all documentation in within like 2 weeks. Do I have that correct?
Yes, which is why waiting until our next meeting for us to vote on it doesn't work, unless you want to make it March 19th. So.
Yeah, no, I think I do want to ask for the continuance, certainly. So.
Yeah, actually thinking about it, March 19th might work a little bit better if you have to work a little bit with your architect.
Right.
We can.
That's what I was asking. Yes.
So you want the 19th or the 5th for now? You want the 5th for now, or you want the 19th?
The 19th, please.
Okay. Make a motion to continue appeal Z 24-2044 to March 19th.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, that's everybody. It's continued to March 19th.
All right. Thank you very much, everyone.
Oh, Mr. McGill,
Yes,
you
sir.
may be, obviously, once you have those architectural plans, try to get them to the township so they can disseminate them to us ahead of time. That would be great.
Okay, absolutely.
Yeah, and well, he knows he has to amend his application for a setback. Yeah. Okay, thank you.
Very good. Thank you, everyone.
All right, moving on to appeal Z 24-2045. Want to read the exhibits in? Well,
Okay, we have the application as A1, site plans as A2, proof of posting, or excuse me, proof of publication B1, proof of posting B2, and B3, notice to the neighbors.
okay, state your name and address and sworn in.
Nathan Simcox, Hydroscape Pools, PO Box 392 Yardley.
What was the name of the pool company?
Hydroscape Pools.
Do you solemnly swear or affirm testimony about to give shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, sir.
What's your first name?
Nathan.
Thank you.
Jim, you might as well put the site plan up on the screen, because I think that's the only. It's up on the screen if you want to work from that.
Yeah, I got calculations right here.
Okay.
It looks like we're just, this already had a variance. It's at 25% right now. It is existing. We're trying to add 600 square foot of pool deck, 144 for a shed, and 32 square foot for an equipment pad. Aside from that, it looks like we're trying to get up to 29.5%. We proposed a infiltration trench to mitigate the water runoff, and I got that right here. The dimensions are on there at a 17 long, 10 wide, 5 foot deep. Standard infiltration for water remediation, runoff.
Mitigating back to what percentage?
That has us at, the percentage would be maximum allowable at 18%. And
So you're proposing to
So you're
mitigate.
gonna mitigate back to the zone.
I believe we are 25, proposed at 29. Let me make sure, but we can definitely recalibrate this to get to 18. Wonder why the 25 with the variance exists.
That's a pretty
That
big
was my
seepage
thought.
bed. That seepage bed seems like it would be enough to get you back to 18, but
Yeah, I
I
have to
mean,
double
we would
check. the
definitely need to know
calculations.
that.
Oh, so one of the notes on his calculations, states impervious surface is used for stormwater calculations of 1997 square feet, all impervious is over 18%. So it's, if you can confirm that you're mitigating back to that 18%.
And we can get back to 18 with the engineer.
Okay.
It's no problem.
Finally, an
stone.
easy one.
All right. Dave, are you participating in this? one?
Finally, an
Yeah,
easy
but my
one.
question's already been answered. That was our only concern to get it back to 18%. So with that, if that's a condition, we certainly are very pleased with that.
Okay. Other questions from the board?
If I may just add one thing, their plans do show that it's all impervious. Over 18% is what it is accounted for.
I see a proposed shed on the drawing, but it's very difficult to tell what the setback from the property line is.
10 feet on the plan.
What's the?
Oh, it's 10 feet? Okay, I'm looking at the little printout here. Okay.
It's got a zoom. I couldn't tell what was going on. I had to throw the zoom on this.
Okay.
So
Yeah, I'm
As-
pretty sure that's well off.
this is my industry, obviously, but
Line of disturbance,
limited
disturbance.
Whoever your drafter is, please tell them to not layer dimensions.
False property lines. Sure.
Public comment?
Yeah, I mean, I'm looking at it, the system now that it's at that larger scale, it makes sense how it's set up.
No, I think it's a pretty good plan. They're saving all the trees that are on the property. They're mitigating back to 18%.
Yep.
It looks like a very nice layout. So
And we're gonna add some more arbs on the property line from facing the street, the right side, just out of privacy. I don't know how many, but we're gonna add some plantings, I'm pretty sure.
Okay. Is there public comment online?
There's no public comment online.
Okay.
I'll make a motion to approve application Z 24-45 as submitted.
Second.
Any discussion? Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
That's all five again.
Thank you, sirs.
All right. So now we're going to move on to other business, which is going to be Verizon.
Oh, boy.
As you're all aware, at the last meeting that was scheduled, we had a request for a continuance from Cellco Partnership, doing business as Verizon Wireless, for the cell tower on the Congregation Bethel property at 375 Stony Hill Road. And at that time, the applicant was requesting a continuance indefinitely, subject to a hearing being reconvened on 45 days' notice of any of the represented parties of the application. And I believe the people who were involved had no objection, the township had no objection. And now we just need to ratify the decision that was made via email since the meeting was canceled due to weather and other issues.
What's the appeal number on this?
I was afraid you're going to ask. Hold on.
Before we went to the Z's, yes.
Yeah, it was.
Freeze.
I guess my only concern, Mr. Chairman, is this has been continued and continued and continued, and now it's asking to be continued indefinitely. That, I mean, at some point, I don't know, the zoning may change completely and we're still going to be continuing.
Actually, what are the statute of limitations requirements on this? I might not be phrasing it correctly, but I believe there is a certain amount of time.
My understanding is the applicant has, for any of these, the applicant can waive the requirements. Like, normally you have to have a hearing within 60 days. So a lot of times if there's a continuance, or the continuance request will say, and we're waiving any applicable deadlines under the MPC. So my understanding is all of that has been waived by the applicant, which is the person who, is affected the most.
I would agree with that interpretation.
And the appeal number is 23-1999.
Adam, can you kind of translate what Jim said? It felt very legalese, and after he
You
said
do
something
realize
about
that both
Yeah, I mean,
councils here are
I
conflict.
can't give you substantive.
both are yeah, I just
Yeah,
need
I can't give you substantive. I was
Okay,
just
yeah, I don't
talking
need
about,
that,
I was
yeah.
just talking about the procedural issue of.
No, I know.
time
I just want a
restrictions.
translation without without you being conflicted.
About,
What you,
Well, I can give you a.
after you
more
said
layman's-
45 days, I glazed over.
Basically, what they're going to do, although it's still the same application, although apparently there may be changes to the substance of what exactly they're requesting a variance from. They may slightly move the tower, change the height of it. We're not 100% sure. But they basically said that they're going to continue this indefinitely, meaning that once they resolve some issues with sighting of the tower, height of the tower, and some other things, prior to reconvening the hearing, we will do a full public notice of this again, as if it's a new application.
Okay.
So a new ad will be placed in the newspaper, and all folks who requested party status will be notified in writing of the date of the new hearing.
Did you say, though, part of what you said earlier, all parties are in agreement? Did I hear you say that? I thought I heard something like that.
All parties were notified of this request. No objections were
That was
raised.
what you said.
Right.
There was an email exchange on that because I was copied on some of that.
Okay, that's, I knew I heard something like that. Thank you.
All right. I'm going to ask, even though I know what the answer is, but I need to. Is there any public comment online? Okay.
There's no public comment online.
Yeah, well, yes, that really could have ruined the evening, but yes. All right. Make a motion to continue appeal 23-1999 indefinitely with a minimum 45 days notice before reapplication or
Prior to reconvening.
prior to reconvening.
I will second that.
Any further discussion by the board? Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Abstain.
Okay, that's right, you need to.
At party status.
That makes 3 of the 8 people here conflicted.
Oh.
And if we had Judy here, we could be an even split.
Oh, does. Anything else on the agenda?
What's up for the next meeting?
we have 3 applications.
I had no idea. I would go with Adam's 3
Yeah, no,
applications. Sound good.
I think there's 3. I had asked Jamie the other day, so I believe there's 3 applications for the 20th.
Okay,
Sounds good. I'll make a motion to convene.
adjourn, not convene.
Oh, adjourn. My apologies.
I'll second the motion to adjourn.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
All right, we're done.
Take care, guys.